Quarantine sucks. Today I will be talking about the effects the coronavirus has had on me. I'm able to inform you on this topic because I'm currently living through this pandemic. First, I will go over how the coronavirus has affected my social life. Then I will go over academically, and finally, psychologically. I will now move on to how the coronavirus has affected me socially. One of the main and very noticeable changes that came with quarantine was the lack of social interaction. On a daily basis, the only people I speak to face to face are my family members, and that's really about it. I am not allowed to hang out or spend time with friends, which has been very hard and challenging for me. Normally, when I'm home, I spend most of my free time hanging out with friends. But unfortunately, with more free time than ever, this time with friends has been cut down to zero. As a person who is a communications major, I thrive and love to communicate with others. So this lack of social interaction with friends has put a huge burden on me. On top of this, I'm also not allowed to see my girlfriend since she lives in Oakland and I live in Los Angeles. It is basically impossible for us to see each other. For most people, quarantine has been a great way to spend more time with their families. But that is not the case for me. I'm the youngest of four, so none of my siblings live at home anymore. And my mother is also currently living in India. So for now, it's just me and my dad with the occasional visits from one of my sisters. This is very saddening to me because I miss and would love to see my family more. Ways I cope with this is just FaceTiming them and having nice long talks with them. A quarantine starting in the middle of the school year has huge effects on a person's academics. Schools are using Zoom and other online features to keep this semester rolling. Zoom classes are the temporary fix to campuses being closed. Zoom gives you the feeling that you are in a classroom to an extent. For example, I've seen huge changes in some of my classes. The largest changes that I have seen from Zoom classes is this class, public speaking. You do not have the same fear and adrenaline public speaking in front of a camera as you would in front of a crowd or a classroom. This makes the class have an unfortunate change of pace. Test taking is another huge aspect to school that has been affected by this pandemic. Finals have now been moved to online. This is a game changer for most students because online tests are honestly easier. During an online test, you may be timed, but you can look in your book and online for the answers. Now, this may not be allowed, but there's no one really enforcing the rules. This makes it much easier for the students to take the test, with stress levels much lower. On top of this, teachers are cutting back on their tests and quizzes because of the overall stress that is upon students now. Procrastination is something that most students have been dealing with over quarantine. Since we are not physically attending classes, the urgency to turn in assignments has drastically diminished. So most students will wait to the last minute to turn in their assignments. Oddly enough though, for me, it has been the complete opposite. With so much free time, I find myself turning in assignments way in advance to their due dates, which feels great. If quarantine has taught me anything, it is to turn my assignments in early to minimize stress and save time. The coronavirus has not only affected many of us socially and academically, it has also affected many of us, if not everyone, psychologically. The psychological impact of the virus cannot be understated. The main issue is the isolation from others and the world. I would say the worst part for me is not being able to go outside like I used to. I'm a very outdoorsy person who enjoys rock climbing, hiking, and surfing. During this virus, I am restricted from doing any of those things. This affects me negatively because I am not able to be myself and have fun outside. Luckily, though, I have found ways to cope with psychological hardships by going on nice long drives and riding my bike outside. Another point of psychological hardship is not knowing the end of the pandemic. There is no set end date to this quarantine, which makes waiting very frustrating. I will check the news every day praying for a quarantine to end, but unfortunately, it does not seem like it'll end anytime soon. I think that the easiest way to cope with this is to just fully adjust into quarantine mode so you're comfortable with the long haul. Another good thing to do is just to try to stop worrying and stressing and just try to enjoy your time at home. Finally, with all this said and done, I will now conclude my speech. After listening to my speech today, I hope that you now understand the hardships that we are all facing during this quarantine. It is also reassuring to know that you are not alone in this and we're all facing this together. Thank you.